Yeah! It's your boy, Jlunce, back with another video, and it didn't take 4 months to make, like last time. I'm delivering it to you guys at an earlier time. Now look, I know we're not in the same spot as we were last time. I know it'll be kind of jarring, it'll be kind of weird, I'll be kind of like, what's he doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. And I don't. But I figured I'd spice it up a little bit, you know. We're gonna try to do a little bit more of a casual approach. I'm just chilling, I'm sitting in my bed. I got my vinyl here, not all of them, but at least some. One that's actually kind of relevant to this album we're gonna talk about today. But yeah, this is a big album, big album. So we should be prepared. Should be prepared. No, I actually need this because I was at the gym just now and I smell like crap, so I kind of need this. But before we get started, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who engaged the last video, everyone who watched it, viewed it, left a like, left a comment, a few that subscribed, anybody who just interacted with the channel and all. Really appreciate it. It was really fun to see what you guys were talking about with it, and I had a great time making it. And you know, it was great to see people were actually kind of enjoying it, at least a little bit. So maybe I hope that I continue to make this content for you guys, and we can just continue to have these great discussions. Hopefully this one gets even more traction. Hopefully more people see it. We got some cool shit planned for the future as well. Trust me, some really cool shit. I don't really know what, but well, I do kind of know what. We'll talk about the end of the video. But for right now, today is a big day because we have a new album. We have a new, brand spanking new album from Radiohead. So let's just dive into the track listing here. And oh, 1 second. I need to call. Hello? Say it again. I didn't. So you're saying it's not a Radiohead album. It's a Smile album. It's a The Smile album. Who the hell is that? Yes, you heard that right. This is not Radiohead. This is instead an offshoot of Radiohead itself that comprises of a few core members of the band itself, including Johnny Greenwood, who does most of the arrangements on most of the Radiohead albums, pretty much all of them, actually, I assume. And my main man, my boy, Tom York, and a drummer by the name of Tom Skinner, although his name's spelled with a T-O-M, like Tom Skinner. Clearly it's spelled T-H-O-M. Get it right. I wasn't that familiar with them until I heard about the release of this album. I mean, I'd heard rumors, I'd heard talk about this band before, but I never really dived into their discography before. I had no idea what they sounded like. I mean, yes, you could assume they sound similar to Radiohead, obviously, if it's the same core members, but I was very intrigued by the release of this thing, and Radiohead for me is one of, if not the best alt-rock band, in my opinion. Now I know that's kind of that's a very bold claim and all, but it's no doubt that Radiohead has been one of the most important bands in the alt-rock, or even really the rock genre, the last like 3 decades. Back when that moody grunge and punk rock era of rock music was really prevalent, super popular in the early 90s, even mid to late 90s, Radiohead came through with, at first, kind of a similar vibe to something like Nirvana, or maybe even Pearl Jam. But down the road, in 1997, when they released OK Computer, they completely revitalized the alt-rock genre. People didn't know what to make of this thing. Instead of anger and resentment being portrayed in the lyrics and the vocals, it was a lot more somber, a lot more melancholic, very woozy, very sad. They almost had a defeatist sort of tone. The instrumentation was cleanly produced, futuristic, kind of progressive, and had these catchy guitar chords and these really spacey synths and extremely almost washed out sort of feel. Many bands like Coldplay were inspired in a lot of ways by Radiohead and their breakout album back in 1997. And fast forward 25 years later, and it's been 8 years since Radiohead released an album with the Moon-Shaped Pool, which is easily their most soft record, their most minimal record, at least in terms of the instrumentation. Not that it wasn't really great, it was still very lush, intricate. It was a depressing record, and it really allowed the emotion to fill the room whenever you were listening to it. And I was a really big fan of it. It's actually one of my personal favorites in terms of their discography, honestly. Now, going into this thing, other than the fact that I knew I was probably gonna like it, I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't hear any of the lead singles. I haven't heard the band's actually first effort, Life for Attracting Attention. I was kind of going in blind, which was kind of jarring, but also kind of exciting because I could just kind of experience the album with a clean slate and not have any biases or any sort of expectations going into it, other than the fact that I would think that Radiohead would have something really interesting to say if they were doing an offshoot that they wouldn't normally do on their mainline albums for Radiohead. So let's not delay it any longer, because this intro's kind of long, so sorry about that. So let's dive into The Wall of Eyes and see what it has to offer us. The album actually begins with the title track, and Tom's foreboding and trancing vocals are ear-grabbing almost immediately. It's kind of his trademark in a way. He's done this for many years, and it's pretty much always a sound and a vocal pattern that I'm always down to hear. His voice just has this soothing quality to it, but also this ability to be really intense. There's a lot of versatility with it. There's a rumbling bass and almost folk-like quality to the guitar playing, and some effects-soaked quiet synths that play in the background too. It's a very eerie, very despondent start to the album, and I really like how it weaves together these many small bits of instrumentation to create this really unique, interesting vibe that I'm really down with. I think it's a really, really good start. In the lyrics, Tom is basically calling out to this mystery person who is hiding like a coward behind this wall of eyes, as it's portrayed in the song. And Tom is kind of scolding for it, saying that he should come out, and basically ridiculing him for not
showing
himself to the outside world. Maybe it's a metaphor for the idea of people always being behind their phone and not wanting to interact with people, and basically having the ability to dive into somebody's personal life without having the consequence of showing your face, and just being able to have this online presence without really being there physically. Either way, it's a really strange and hazy and foggy beginning that really sets a great tone for the rest of the record. And once I heard this track, I was locked in, I was dialed, I was ready to hear what the rest of this album was gonna sound like. The second track, called Teleharmonic, is actually even stronger in my opinion, and features these buzzing synths and this synthetic guitar lead that's really, really entrancing, and kind of serves as the backbone for the slow burn of what the song really is. Around a third of the way into the track, there's this effortless transition where all of these sounds kind of start to swirl together, and the avant-garde-esque, krautrock inspired kind of nature of the track actually kind of shows itself. And it basically has this flute arrangement in the mix that I really kind of think gives it this very strange and odd sound. Similarly odd to the first track, but now it feels like it's really kind of showing its true colors. It feels like the song is kind of pulling from these avant-garde-esque jazz rock inspired sounds even more, and I really like it. It's one of the stronger cuts on the album, actually. The synth sound almost like white noise on a TV. I know that sounds kind of reductive, but it has this serene quality to it that I've just never really heard when it comes to the incorporation of synths in a song. It makes me feel like there's a pile of leaves around me, just like rustling around, and it's slowly encasing me in this like cyclone or this tornado of like just colors and crap. And it's like, it's so great, it's so intense, and I really love the feeling that it gives you when you're listening to it. Think of it as a more futuristic, nihilistic version of a song from Can's Tagamago. The lyrics in this one take a heavier, more indulgent approach with these biblical references about being pinned down with nails and a hammer. It's pretty barbaric, some of the lyrics are on here, and I kind of enjoy how strange the songwriting is on this song as a whole. Although it is kind of hard to discern what it's really about. I think it may be about basically giving yourself up to some sort of deity or some otherworldly figure because your faith in them is so strong. It could have something to do with that. I could be totally wrong, but either way, it's a really interesting piece of songwriting. So far, we are going pretty strong. Read the Room reads as the most Hail to the Thief-esque cut for me, with its semi-aggressive guitar leads and its very catchy drum lines and bass. The synths are very frightful almost, kind of makes me feel tense. It's kind of bone-chilling, kind of weird. Tom sounds aggravated on the cut, being fed up with somebody who doesn't seem to be giving him the time of day, and the frustration of that is really exemplified really well when mixed with the production as a whole and the arrangements as a whole. I think it mixes really well. And then the instrumentation gets softer and the synths level out a bit, and Tom sounds a little bit more cooled off. Like he just had a temper tantrum and now he's kind of like, you know, a little level-headed, kind of calm, and he's, wouldn't say forgiven this person, but it sounds like he's just less angry. But then the same melody comes back, only stronger and more intense than before. It still sounds really good, but the overall sound and the lyrics, it kind of makes the song feel like strangely structured, kind of uneven, kind of inconsistent. I know that sounds kind of like a weird complaint, but just doesn't really feel like the most cohesive to me. It kind of feels like the arrangements are thrown together a little bit, just a wee bit. It still sounds really great. I still really like it, and I think they did a great job with it. It's just not one of the stronger cuts on the album for me. But I do kind of like how it establishes the unpredictability that the rest of the album will follow suit with. The next track, Under Our Pillows, keeps this heavy alt-rock sound coming with these electronic guitars and strange vocals. But then the song kind of mellows out towards the midpoint, and the catchy guitar lead and just the overall catchiness of the song is kind of swapped out for this hazy, haunting, almost folk rock, and the guitars slowly peter out and give way to this grand, absolutely just this opulent orchestral instrumentation that is punctuated with these electronic twains and industrial whistles. The build to this moment is easily the most tense point in the album so far. It's really eerie, it's really enveloping, it's extremely haunting. It makes me feel kind of uncomfortable, but in a really like cool, interesting way. Not like in a way where I want to turn it off, just in a way that it's kind of daring me, or at least I'm daring myself to listen to it further. It's a really great vibe. I do think the second half is a little bit stronger than the first half, but I do think that the progression and build-up is overall really satisfying. The next track, Friend of a Friend, is actually another favorite of mine and takes a more ballad-esque approach similar to a song like True Love Waits, only way less softer and way less linear and more intense. The piano on this track is a super nice touch, and I love how Tom's reverb vocals are kind of punctuated or accentuated in a way by these instances of radio chatter, I think. And the way the track transitions from these sections of gorgeous strings to these moments of escalating anxiety is really, really well done and super, super cohesive. The songwriting on this one is unique, not only in terms of the rest of the album, but in terms of the rest of Radiohead's entire discography, or maybe not Smiles. I'm not sure if what they're referencing here has anything to do with something they did in the last album, but basically, I do a lot of research for this, as I didn't really understand what the point of it was, but it's basically referring to this idea, or well, this instance that people were talking about during COVID, where people would just kind of go onto their balconies or their rooftops of their apartments and kind of talk to people in the other apartments or neighborhood apartments on the other side to the other person on their balcony. And they kind of have this nice organic conversation in a time where during the pandemic, obviously, you couldn't really have that unless it was over like Zoom or some shit. It did actually get me to kind of think about COVID a little bit more and how people basically were so desperate for being out there in nature, at least with other people especially, and just kind of needed that sort of outside interaction because they're so cooped up inside. And the idea that, or at least the very backwards idea, that those times may have been kind of nice in a way, at least. It kind of inspired people to indeed go outside more, but not only that, but just go outside and actually interact with people instead of interacting with people behind your phone or on your computer screen or such that, this and that. And, it's probably the most interesting song about COVID that I've heard. Way more interesting than that shit we did in or at least that I did, in senior year of high school, where the ELA teacher would basically assign this stupid prompt where it was just like, how did COVID affect you guys? And we all just kind of sit there and think about it, and then she'd be like, okay, let's write an essay about it. And when we did it, we would all just say the exact same thing, just in different words. It's like we were programmed robots. So stupid. Anyway, amazing cut. Great cut in the album. One of my favorites for sure. The next song, I Quit, is lyrically sparse, but that kind of allows the uniqueness and strangeness of the production and arrangements to kind of flourish, because I'd say this song is the most hard to pin down in terms of what it's trying to replicate. I mean, it's definitely still has that spacey, clean aesthetic that most Radiohead songs do, or Smile songs do. But here it does have some really weird, psychedelic, drip-droppy synths that just kind of are laced throughout the instrumentation, throughout the melody of the song. And it works really well. It's a very ethereal, very strange vibe. It kind of makes me feel like I'm in the ballroom of some haunted gothic castle. That's the best way I can describe it. The drip drop synths, I'm just gonna call them drip drop synths. They kind of sound like a bell or an alarm on a space station. It's really odd. I've never heard anything quite like it. And I love the second half where it's this grand orchestral instrumentation comes back similar to the third or fourth track. And I think that's another really strong cut. Then we get to Bending Heretic, which I actually heard a little bit of buzz about on Album of the Year before the album dropped, because it was one of the singles that did release. I didn't listen to it, but I'd heard a lot of talk saying that it was a great track, simply. And they're not wrong. This is one of the best songs I've heard in like probably since Shit Talk off of Jadlin, from Steve John Stevens. It is probably the best rock song I've heard in like a year, maybe 2 years. It's this melodic, weird, futuristic, but also folk-inspired slow burner about slowly becoming numb and kind of ignoring all prior engagements and just feeling like you're kind of existentially free. Tom is talking about how he's basically on like a mountainside and just feels like it kind of sounds like he's slowly ascending it physically, but spiritually his mind is just slowly shutting down. So it's kind of a nice juxtaposition. I really like it. There's this quiet, ever so slightly quiet distortion in the guitars that kind of has a little bit, just a wee bit of grunginess to it that makes the really pretty and serene first half of the song kind of have this tinge or this kind of foreboding tone. It feels like it should be peaceful, but there might be something bad coming up around the corner. There's also this really odd sampling of these, I don't know if they're synths, I don't know what it is, it's just some sound playing. It kind of sounds like a bomb timer going off that slowly builds up in intensity just like for only a few seconds, and then it's like diffused. And then it comes back like 30 seconds later throughout the first like 6 minutes of the track. This track's 8 minutes long. It's a long cut. But you don't feel that length. It's very, very engaging the entire time, really. But as soon as Tom vocalizes that he's letting go of the wheel, so to speak, or at least maybe finally about to let himself be free, so to speak, spiritually, and then Johnny Greenwood takes control of the wheel, and he's like, Tom, hold on, I found this sick shortcut up the mountain. And before Tom can answer, before we can answer, he just floors it.
Oh. Let me drive
like a buzz down. And we're just in the back seat, and the song just goes haywire. It goes absolutely insane. The guitars just suddenly have this extreme distortion to them. They're played with such ferocity. The drums and the bass just begin to blare in your face. It's so crazy. It's like the last 30 seconds of Body Snatchers, but like on steroids. Tom's vocals soar as if he's just kind of overcome and overwhelmed with this emotion, and actually tracks back on what he's been talking about in the track and basically says that he's finally ready to turn around. This could mean that he's finally ready to actually take control of his life and not let himself be just kind of floating in space, so to speak. I'm not really sure. It could be a metaphor for something else. I'm sure someone will interpret it a different way. I'm kind of stupid, so shit. It's one of the best songs I've heard in the last couple of years. Good God, it was incredible. The album concludes with a predictable but necessary ballad, or piano ballad, where Tom's vocals are the softest on the album, the most serene, the most calming. He's singing about basically this person who clearly knows him better than he does, and he kind of has this extreme trust for him in a way. Maybe this is referencing the character that he is sacrificed himself for in the previous cut. He really reaches this high-pitched register that is so awe-inspiring and so gorgeous. This track feels like very similar to Daydreaming, but the orchestral arrangements are much more in your face and much more prevalent in this track. And it really just ends the album with fireworks. I don't even know what to say. This was great. It was it's easily one of the best albums. It's easily the best album of the year so far. And I hate to be that guy, but Radiohead, I think they've done it again. Or well, The Smile has done it again. And I was floored by this. I gave it an 88 on first listen last night, and I listened to it again a couple times in preparation for recording this, and give it an 89. It's incredible. It's probably, I don't see it going down. I don't see my enjoyment of this just like going down even a little bit, because there's so much to peel back layer by layer in the instrumentation. I could see it going into the 90s maybe. It is amazing, and one of the best albums that the Radiohead alum have been a part of. Probably the best Radiohead side project. I mean, it has to be. Yeah, that should do it for the review. Now, I did say I was going to talk about what I plan to do in the future. I'd love for you guys to comment below what I should review next and what you guys want me to talk about. I have some ideas. Maybe I'll rank discographies of full discographies of artists. Maybe I will talk about the best albums of certain decades, something like that. That sounds kind of standard, but I'll think of something else. I think I have some ideas that I won't share with you quite yet. And comment below what you thought about this thing. Is it one of your favorite Radiohead projects? So why? If not, then tell me why you think. Because all opinions are valid and sacred. Most are valid and sacred. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you next time. It's almost 1 a.m., so I'm gonna hit the hay.